what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 3 of Badges and Breakthroughs. I'm, as usual, your co-host, Kela. And with me today, I have an amazing, amazing brother. You guys are in for an absolute treat. His name is Chad Schwenke. We call him Schwenke Schwenk in our fellowship group. Before I go ahead and bring him on, I want to go ahead and give a real quick shout out to Project Icon. They are the reason why you all get to hear this, the reason why we actually have this platform. They do all the editing, website creation, and distribution for all of it. They also do referral programs. So if you have a group, a specific group that if you want to do a podcast, you want to do any type of social media outreach, they are the guys to go ahead and do it. So again, big shout out to Project Icon, projecticon.com. So without further ado, Brother Schwenke, I just want to give a real quick bio for him. So he is truly a man that exemplifies, in our opinion, someone who is a true servant to not just the community, to his family, but also to his faith. He started out in public service at the age of 18, and he became a volunteer firefighter, served 11 years as a state certified EMT, and then transitioned to law enforcement in 2017. He's now the lead medical and active shooter instructor for his department. He is SWAT certified and brings expertise in CQB and patrol rifle instruction. Through his personal company that he started, MEDC Training Solutions, Chad extends his specialized knowledge to both civilian and law enforcement communities. Above all else, though, above all his professional achievements, Chad is a devoted husband, father, and a follower of Jesus Christ. So, Brother Chad, thank you again so much for taking the time to join the podcast. Welcome in, brother.
What's going on, man? Excited to be here.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, before we go ahead and roll in, is there anything that maybe I missed? Anything personal that you want to talk about? A little bit about your background?
Yeah. So it's the MEDC training company, and we'll get a little bit deeper into it later, but actually stands for Make Every Day Count, is actually what the letters stand for. It just happened to be cool that it's, medic, and it has something, we teach some medical classes and stuff there. We'll obviously deep dive later into kind of how that was all started and why, but no, it started my career, I guess you could say, as a volunteer fireman, and worked my way up through some EMT schooling, pouring concrete at night, and going to EMT school at night, pouring concrete during the day, and EMT school at night. I actually took a loan out for $500 to pay for my EMT school because I just didn't have the funds at the time, which is one of the reasons why with the company we offer a couple CPR, stop the bleed. It's not really stop the bleed, blood loss prevention courses for free to the public, because I'm like, I don't want money to be the reason why, we don't put out this knowledge to people, right? And kind of a way to give back to the community has been great to me. So.
Oh, awesome, bro. So you poured concrete, and at the same time, you knew that was going to be your calling, that you wanted to do it, enough that you took out a personal loan to make sure you could do it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So I was pouring concrete. We were working, generally would start the day around 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, get done about 3-ish in the afternoon. I would go home, grab something to eat real fast, take a shower, and then my EMT classes started at 6 p.m. And I would do those till 9, and then basically come home, hit the sheets, and go back to work the next day. And it was just a revolving door. Yeah. Yeah. Lots of caffeine, whole bunches of caffeine.
It's caffeine and motivation.
Absolutely. That's it. Yeah. Motivation. Big one.
Yes, sir. So, is there anything that you can kind of share with everybody? What drove you to public service in general at such a young age? Like, was it a calling? Was it someone that you, like a mentor for you, that you kind of looked up to, or was it just your own personal drive?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously every kid grows up and be like, I want to be a policeman, I want to be a fireman, that kind of thing, right? But truly, it was my brother. I'm very fortunate to say my brother's my best friend. I mean, I would do anything in the world for him, and I idolized the things that he did or does. So my brother started working at the fire department when I was kind of a younger kid. On the day that I graduated from high school, they gave me my pager and everything else, because they wouldn't let me start before, because they're like, you're going to stop paying attention to school and start paying attention to this. So I grew up in the firehouse, like doing some stuff with them. And I think he was a lieutenant when I came on, and ended up leaving the department as the assistant chief before he took on some other roles and stuff. So man, the camaraderie and just like the family that was at the firehouse was just like something that I felt I was lacking, you know. So it was, oh, it was awesome, and I miss those days, true and true, you know. And but no, I wanted to do what he did. So he was, you know, the volunteer fireman. He was a state certified paramedic, or actually I think he's a national certified paramedic. Um, and it's like, this is what I want to do. Like, I want to be that man, you know, like I seen how much everybody looked up to him and the things that he did, and, you know, how much I looked up to him. And so it was kind of one of those things where I'm like, yeah, this is where I want to go with it.
Awesome. Awesome. So just curious, now that you've transitioned from the fire side to police, I just got to ask this question. Which uniform is better for you, man?
Boy, I'll tell you what. So it's funny. I love law enforcement. Absolutely love law enforcement. But I think in the city of Charleston where I work, we've had, phew, I would say 5 or 6 calls where I'll get there first. And like I've put out like structure fires, like that were starting on like a kitchen fire with a fire extinguisher. And, literally just 2 shifts ago, we had an apartment just rolling smoke out of the front door. And I'm like, well, I'm going to go make sure that, like, nobody's at least inside the apartment. So I go in the apartment, feel like I smoked like 12 packs of cigarettes when I was done. But get into the apartment and I found a pot on the stove that was just rolling smoke. They'd left the burner on high and nobody was home. So I go in there, take a towel, grab it, and I pull it out of the apartment. The smoke's just rolling. I can get there and a couple of guys are like, you applied for the wrong department, man. What are you doing? Like, we're testing soon. And then one of the other guys comes up and he's like, it was you again, wasn't it? I was like, I can't confirm or deny, but yeah, man. So, I still get to play with that. And I truly miss that side of things. I renewed my EMT license, for a couple of reasons. One is I'm a firm believer in, if I'm going to teach something, I should be learning every day. So it's at no point in time, should you stop learning especially if you're trying to push this stuff out for other people. And so holding that certification gets me into certain courses that, just a normal person on the street can't take. So, I feel like it kind of adds some, like, okay, maybe this guy has a little bit of experience or a little bit of knowledge, and he's not just some dude that read a book somewhere and is just going with it. So, but to answer your question, sorry, I got off a tangent there. The police
No,
uniform
this is the place to do the
is
tangents,
way
brother.
cooler. The police
Well,
uniform is way cooler.
even
Yeah.
those people don't really like us too much, right? They're kind of like mommy and dadding them all the time.
Yeah. Like, and I just don't understand. It's like, so how do you guys not like me? You guys are paying these dudes to take naps. You know, like they're sleeping and you're mad at me. Like, come on, man.
I mean, they're cooking too. They
I
got good
know.
food.
Good.
I will
Yes.
say, you guys do know how to throw down some good food.
Yes, we do. That was my favorite part. Like when I worked for the volunteer fire department, was our chief was a phenomenal cook. And that was what we did just to get people to come to the meetings. We'd be like, hey, meeting night, we got some chili or some burgers or whatever it may be. It's like, we'll be there. You know, it's like, that's a way to our hearts. That's pretty certain.
I mean, yeah, I could definitely see it. I mean, for us now, it's just Chipotle and Chick-fil-A, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
50% off.
Come
It's
on
good
now.
stuff. So, with the fireside and the transition to PD, what was there something that happened though that made you say, I need to transition? Was it a leadership thing or was it just primarily a calling?
Oh, man. So I think a little bit of both. I constantly joke around about, so my brother, in 2017 received the, Star Life Award, and they flew him and I out to Washington, DC, where he received this award for a life save that he had made. And, I mean, should have been just celebrating his entire career, but, they sent him out there. So I joked around like, oh man, I got to get out of here now. I'll never compare to you. Like, I'm always going to be Schwenke's brother, you know, but, no, I think truly, unfortunately, my entire EMS career was with kind of a bad EMS service. Truly, they're actually out of business, now, but, this was a company that was more concerned about, saving a dollar here or there than they were providing their people with the right equipment to achieve. And I complain about that, but at the same note, I'm grateful for that because it allowed me to be better, right? It allowed me to adapt and overcome and learn how to treat my patients and not my tools, because you couldn't always count on the tools, you know? And so I think just there was a lot of negativity in that side of things. And then I got into the working for the hospital, Clay County Hospital, was working for those guys. And the hospital setting was cool because you could work ER plus run the AMBO, but it's just like, man, there's just something I've always wanted to do law enforcement. But I just didn't really think I A had a shot, or B, it wasn't following what my brother was kind of doing. So him and I had a long conversation about it, and he's like, you gotta push for what you want to do. Like, you gotta, whatever makes you happy will support you 100%. And basically just told me, like, don't follow me. You're your own person. Like, you know, build that of you. So I think having that conversation with him and just being like, I'm not getting any younger by any means. I think my clock is actually in forward 2 times some days, but no, I think it was just the experiences that I had in EMS were good. But there was a lot of negativity and a lot of things. It's like, okay, I need to get out. Like, my heart's not full like it was. And then so I switched over to the law enforcement side of things.
Is there anything that you miss about the fireside?
Oh man, there's nothing beats going inside of a room where you can't see your own hand in front of your face, and just knowing that you're going into literally one of the worst environments, to just do what you're trained to do, right? And like, and then ultimately at the end of the day, you showing up on somebody's worst day is the greatest thing in the world. So I still kind of get that in the law enforcement side of things, but uh, man, I miss, I truly miss those kind of skills and like that adrenaline rush. I used to drive race cars too, so like I'm an adrenaline junkie, so I'm pretty certain. But um, no, I definitely miss that side of things. And as far as like the EMS side goes, I'll be honest with you, it sounds stupid because I wouldn't have told you this when I worked EMS. I kind of miss the transfers. So the transfer is basically we're taking a patient from a hospital to another hospital, and it could be like multiple hours away. And I still remember when I was doing my clinical time with my brother. Um, so the clinical time through the hospital, I have to do X amount of hours on the ambulance service to sign off saying, hey, he's done this and he's good to go. So my brother and I rode in the back of an ambulance on like a 2.5 hour transfer, and the lady that we took sent both of us Christmas cards and thanked us and said it was such a great conversation and she just appreciated it so much. She was obviously having a bad time, right? Nobody rides an ambulance when they, just for fun. So she was having a tough time, but she sent my brother and I Christmas cards, and that was again one of those things. It's like, dude, I just got to do this with my brother. Like, how cool is that? And then it's like you imagine me. So I would joke around like my brother is like the very thought out, like processes everything, very smart, very like thoughtful person. I'm the like hold my drink. I'm gonna go do something super cool here, and then we'll tell stories about it when it's over, right? But we both have a very big connection to people. Um, we just have the ability to just start talking, and just try to make a bad situation better, right? And so that's something that we're very fortunate to have. So being able to do that with my brother and being able to have those long conversations with people and understand that, like, I will always say that the one craziest part about EMS or about just the medical field in general is compassion will treat 99% of the things that you can't treat with medicine. And that's a huge thing, right? So just giving somebody a little bit of compassion and showing that you actually care will fix so many more things than anything that we could give them in the back of the ambulance.
Amen to that. Amen to that. So I want to kind of shift a little bit and talk a little bit about those two roles, police and firefighting and EMT. Was there a specific call for you that kind of still lingers with you, um, and not necessarily the best in the best sense, right? So, is there anything that still kind of haunts you, still kind of holds on to you a little bit? I know a lot of us in law enforcement, we do a lot of that Monday morning quarterbacking, um, but especially when it comes to the critical incident side. So, I just wanted to ask you, uh, between the fire or the police side, whichever you choose, what is something that kind of still sticks with you today?
So as far as like the EMS fire side of things go, obviously any call that you work with pediatrics is tough, right? It's so much easier dealing with an adult because it's like you've had at least a little bit of time to live. You've had time to enjoy your life and become who you are. When we deal with pediatric stuff, it's like, man, they never got that chance, right? And um, in EMS, you will always question whether you did the right thing and whether the reason they don't get to continue their life if because you didn't do your job. Um, I will say my EMS career was pretty wild. So the city that I worked in was actually multiple interstates kind of intersected all through there. So we had some stuff there. But my very first ever EMS call was like 101 degrees outside in the shade, and we had a older farmer that was checking his crops, and he had stopped the four-wheeler to let this train go through and thought that he had the four-wheeler in reverse to back up, and actually it was still in drive, and he launched the four-wheeler out in front of the train. Very first day ever, I'm walking train tracks picking up basically parts of this guy, and while we're standing there, we're dealing with all this, his family shows up across the street, and they're all like, we think that's grandpa, or we think that's so and so. We knew, we 100% knew, but we couldn't tell them. And just to like, I felt so just useless. I felt like there was nothing, ultimately, there was nothing I could have done there. Right. Um, but my job, to me, my heart says that I should go comfort these people, like I should be there and try to like explain to them that, hey, maybe there is some relief in knowing that, he didn't suffer, right? This was a quick process and things like that may sound like kind of morbid, but we deal with those things at a different level than most of the general public does, but I would say that one was like hey, here we are. We're kind of in it to win it at this point. And it's like, decide now if you want to do this for the rest of your life, or if this is going to be too much for you. And, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, I don't know if I became kind of desensitized on day one or what, but I possess a phenomenal ability to disconnect with calls. So it's like, I'll show up, I'll do my thing. But when the call's over, the shift's over, I don't think about it anymore. I'm gonna go on living my life. I did what I was supposed to do, and that's just it. But um, I would say the one call EMS wise that besides that one, obviously later in my career, that legitimately messed with me for um, a couple days. I finally just pretty much went out walking the streets of my hometown, and I'm just like talking to myself and talking to God, and actually like talking to him. The guy ended up dying, and just telling him I was sorry. And so we had a semi accident where the semi had actually overturned, and whenever it did, it basically was like a cheese grater, and it destroyed the whole side of this truck, and this man was stuck underneath of the semi. So we get there, and we end up having to come into the truck through the passenger side window, and I get down there with him, and he's talking to us, awake, alert, everything, like obviously in pain. And he's like, don't let me die. Don't let me die. I'm like, no, man, you're good. You're good. We got you, cause to me, what I'm presented with, he's good, like he may have a couple of injuries and stuff like that, but I mean, he's alert. He's talking like you and me are. So I'm like, he's good to go. Like, don't worry, man. We'll get you. We'll get you. Like, we just got to figure out, well, I didn't know was the truck was actually smashing his legs underneath of it and was actually cutting off the blood flow, which was what was keeping him alive. And then the fire department show up, and they kind of struggled. Obviously, that's a lot of weight, right? So they kind of struggled with getting the truck up to where we could get him out. And the helicopter crew actually landed. They jumped in the truck with us, and we're sitting there with him. And then as soon as they picked up the weight of the truck, he just coded. So we drag him out of the semi and take him into our local hospital. And I mean, literally, when we got to the hospital, the flight medic said the only thing we didn't use on this man was an eye patch. I mean, I literally think we used every single bit of equipment that we had to try to basically save this man's life. And unfortunately, it didn't go as well. So I was very frustrated with the fire department because I'm like, man, you guys are taking forever, right? But which is stupid because I know, like, I was in that role, but at this time, my role was EMS, right? And so I'm like, you guys took too long. You're the reason why he's dead. You know, I'm just so mad at the fire department. And then we do a debriefing with the coroner afterwards, and the coroner tells us there's nothing you could have done to this man. Every single thing in him was destroyed, and he was only being held alive because of the weight on his legs. And there was nothing that we could have done to fix that. Like the spleen was ruptured, everything. I mean, just was not going to make it out of that. But I didn't know this, so the debrief was several days later, and I just walked through the thing, and I'm like telling him and telling God, like, man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I didn't save you. I'm sorry that we failed you. I'm sorry that and like that just killed me because I'm like, that was our fault, right? And so, I mean, it's still kind of sitting here thinking about it, you know, it's still kind of just like, I felt like we just messed up, and that part just killed me. But once I got the information from the coroner, I'm like, okay, you know what, we did what we were supposed to do, and the outcome didn't turn out the way that we hoped it would. But I rest so much easier knowing that we did what we were supposed to, and that there was nothing that we were going to do to help that man. That, but at least we put in the effort to try. So I would say that was kind of the call where it was like, no, at the end of the day, no matter what my medical training is, um, there's some things that are just out of my hands, and that was very hard for me to accept. Right. I have I think I pretty much have a complex where I just think I need to be able to fix everything. And unfortunately, that was that awakening. It's like that slap in the face of like, no, man, you don't fix everything. He does, right? That's on him. It's out of your control. Um, you know, it's weird now because at that time I didn't have the faith that I have now. And so I struggled with, the faith side of that. But it's weird because I still came back to that spot where I was talking to God, and I was talking to him when things went wrong, but I didn't pray. I didn't go to church. Like that wasn't something that I did. But, at the end of the day, I knew in my heart and I knew in my mind that he was the one that we needed to talk to. And, that was probably a struggle. I mean, that was probably the worst one as far as EMS side goes. And, law enforcement side, I would say it was actually a medical call. But law enforcement side, we get an unresponsive baby. We go to it early morning. And so I always try to be that guy that kind of takes control of those situations just because I do have the expertise in it and stuff. And so we get in there, and the family was she was a younger black mother kid. And one of the guys who's one of my best friends on my police department, I mean, him and I are super close, is a black officer and related. And that doesn't change anything, right? But it kind of give you some context of where we're at. So we get in there, baby's pretty much honestly deceased at this point in time, but we didn't know, right? So I said, give me the kid. And so like he gives me the baby, and I told him, I said, you go outside and wait for the fire department. Tell me when they're here. Like I wanted to get him away from that situation so bad. And so I bring him in, I lay the kid down on the table. We do the CPR, and I'm waiting. There's like, hey, ambulance is here. Perfect. Pick him up, you know. Seemed like the longest, like 2.5 minutes of me just like, come on, buddy. And it's like knowing ultimately we we were probably fighting a clock that had already stopped, right? But um, so we end up, they take the kiddo out to the hospital. We go out there, and the officer that I work with has a conversation with the mom. Mom's obviously just completely distraught, as expected. And we get into talking to her, and we come to find out that, she's pretty much a single mom. She's doing all of this on her own. The kiddo was sick, and was obviously fussy. So she had allowed for the kid to lay in bed with her. And then the kid basically, because it was sick and everything, rolled over and like suffocated. And that's ultimately um, but what connects all of that is my officer, he's adopted, kind of had a rough go at it at a very young age. But his mom was the same way. Mom was a single mom trying to do everything that she could, and he, you could see that hit him very hard. And he's like, man, it just reminds me so much of my situation. Like, and I will tell you, so we clear from this, we get everything. And I was like, man, you need anything, let me know. And he sends me a text and he said, man, that one hit me. Or he calls me, sorry. He said, man, that one hit me, Schwenk. He's like, that's so hard for me. And he's like, I bawled all the way home. And, man, I think like that's what hit me. Like, not the call itself, is I felt like I failed him because I didn't remove him from the situation and make it so that he didn't have to deal with that. Like, and that truly is one of those things that just bother me so bad because, I put my guys over me every day of the week. And so to see that and to see that, hey man, you may have had an opportunity to prevent him from ever having to see that and go through that. And, he has 2 young kids, and, one at the time was close to the same age as this, baby. And, so like him having to obviously see that and deal with that and just the whole situation. And I felt like I failed him by not stepping in and getting him out of the situation. But I know that there's no way he would have let me do that by myself, regardless. That's where I get a little bit of comfort with it, but it's still tough.
Wow. Wow. How are you doing now?
Better than I deserve. So again, I disconnect from a lot of that. I hate it because I know it's not normal, right? Like, it's never normal to be like, I just seen one of the worst things that anybody's probably dealt with in a very long time. And now I'm just going to go home and pretend that nothing ever happened and just block that out of my memory. But I just don't think about the things until obviously a really good friend of mine says, hey man, you want to do a podcast? And now I'm like, oh man, now I'm thinking about it again. But, no, I'm doing good because ultimately, this isn't going to be the last hard call that he handles, right? And, I'm not going to be able to protect, and he doesn't want me to. He doesn't want me to take that burden from him. He's literally one of my best friends, and he knows that I will step in and do anything in the world for him. But at the end of the day, it's easier for me now because, I know that he's okay, and I know that, I'm surrounded with great people that if anything ever bothers me, or if anything's just weighing on me, I can just simply reach out. And, I have a phenomenal support group. And, as my wife joked around and said that she was going to get me a t-shirt made that says emotional support human, do not pet. It's like, I'm like that guy, right? So, but no, like, I'm good. I'm really good, and I would say I'm better now, than I was, for sure. And I think a lot of that has to do with, the position and the situation that I'm in, and truly my faith, man. Like, we can get more into that later, but, I recently started going back to church. I'd say probably 6-7 months now.
Proud of you.
And, thank you. Thank you. And, me and my kiddo just got baptized together a few weeks back. And man, I'll tell you what, like, there's just something to be said about when your face comes back out of that water and you're just sitting there, it's like, it's almost like you just woke up from a dream and now we start again. Right. And, so I think being able to understand, that ultimately I have him, right? And, the things that I do and the things that, we do as a family and stuff is all focused towards him and all because of him. And, so I think that's helped me a lot with dealing with the things that, kind of stress me out or, even just kind of break me down, make me feel a little depressed. But, no, we're getting by.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll definitely say, I think the community and the public have a very hard time understanding exactly what it is that we go through every single day. And they don't get to see the human element of what it is that we suffer with all day. And that's one of the main reasons for this platform, is to show the human side of first responders, service members, and the the sacrifice that the spouses also go through every single day. And I know you had brought up the wife helping you out on things and giving those small jokes, but as as we all know, dark humor is one of those things, right? That we deal with. Um, but it's amazing that you have someone in your life that is there to stand by you, support you through the darkest times that you have. Um, how's your how's your partner? The one that was there that day?
Yeah. So, on the EMS call or the law enforcement one?
The law enforcement goal.
Yeah. So, he's doing good. He's doing really good. Man, he's just one of those guys that just like, they don't make him like him, right? He's the life of the party, but the same note, like just has a heart of gold, and, um, no, he's doing well. This has been a few years now, a couple years now. So at the time, obviously it was tough. It was very tough for him. And I think it kind of weighed on his heart for a little while. And you could just tell that, when he was at work, he's like, man, maybe this isn't what I want to do kind of thing. Or not really so much. I don't think he's ever questioned that. I think it's if I have to deal with this all the time, this isn't where I want to be. Like this is going to be tough. And, but no, man, he's doing great now. And, um, obviously we still have our trials and tribulations of other stuff that go on in our career. And so that's kind of a big thing, but, no, he's doing good, doing really good.
Not too many, because if I remember correctly, you said that was his family member, correct?
So no, it wasn't a family member, but the situation reminded him of his like
Gotcha.
kiddo,
Yep.
and his family situation. And so it was just kind of like, cause his mom, ultimately struggled, with doing a single mom thing, trying to raise, him and his brothers or him and his brother by himself or by herself. And, so he related to that. And then obviously seeing the child that looks similar to his kid is like, oh, like that hits hard. And that's one of the things my brother dealt with, a, a call that this young girl basically, it's kind of a weird thing that happened down in Effingham. And, there's a young girl that had actually fallen on a stick and it like poked her neck, and her brother, um, was that like no parents were there. Brother didn't know what to do. So brother killed her to like take her out of her misery, as he said, and then threw her in a well. And dude, I'll tell you what, I watched my brother literally, I don't know, it had been 72 hours straight, man. Like, just broke my heart watching this man do everything in the world to try to find this little girl. And I think he still has the picture. Um, she was a little redhead girl, and my brother's daughter was the same age, red hair, looked so much alike. And he's like, I can't get that picture out of my mind. It's like, that's the hardest part, because so often we do that, right? We tie our life into some of these calls. Like, okay, well, that looks like so and so, or man, I've been in the same situation. And now it's like, when you start adding personalized part to it. Now it makes it even harder to kind of let go of it, and yeah, I mean, I'm sure that still messes with him. And um, real quick, obviously, for anybody that's like listening to this side of things, is I also want to reiterate, because you talked about it's hard for the public to understand what we see, right? I also don't want people to think that like the struggles and the things that we see and the stresses that we have, ultimately they're no worse than what you're going through, right? So we're not trying to sit here and be like, oh well, we seen this, and like my brother and his wife struggle with this a lot. Like he's like, man, I would come home and I would say, hey, I had this pediatric code, all this, and she's like, yeah, I had a stressful day too. She worked at a daycare, and she's like, this kid used the bathroom in his pants and this was stressful. I do this. And my brother's like, did you not just hear me? Like, are you really comparing that to, and he's like, it took me a long time to understand that that's stress to her. Like ours just looks different because we do different things. Right. And that was, man, that's so hard to understand. It's like, and I think that's one of the biggest reasons why in like law enforcement, you see a lot of cops and nurses together. I think it's because we kind of understand that, it's just, or cops and cops, whatever, but um, the end of the day, our stress, although may be caused by something way more extreme, is no worse or no better than your stress or their stress. And that was a very hard thing to kind of understand, And I stood in my parents' kitchen one day. My brother's just bawling to me. He'd worked a pediatric code, or he'd worked a drowning, and it was a young kid. Man, he was just bawling, and um, he's just like, man, I feel like I could have done something different. I could have. And so he's crying. He comes up, gives me a hug, and I'm just like talking to him, cause he knows obviously he can talk to me about things. We've kind of both been in that situation. And, my dad, he's never worked, like as a first responder, dealt with that side of things. Right. My dad comes in and says, oh, I know what you mean. Work wants me to sell more tires than I did this week or last year. And they're expecting me to, and we're like, are you really telling us that the stress of you selling tires is weighs as much on you as it does? Like, you can't say, what I mean. Like, you weren't there. But then we sit there later and realize like, no, he can, because that was huge to him, right? That was ultimately, that affects his livelihood. And that's what he knows, like, um, it's hard for me to relate to that side of things. Like, it's hard for me to relate that, oh, if I don't sell $2 million worth of product this year, my family's not going to get taken care of. I'm not going to get the paycheck that I thought I had. I'm not going to, they may demote me. I can understand that, but he can't understand, when I come home and say, hey, I just worked a car accident where a kid drove underneath of a car and his head was in the back seat. Like, those are things that I've seen that he's not. And like, I don't expect him to understand it. And honestly, I'm very thankful that he doesn't. Right. I'm very, very
Absolutely.
thankful. So, it's definitely one of those things of like the whole, as we say, like, send me, right? Like, I would so much rather I handle these stresses and these things than somebody else have to deal with it, for sure. So, but sorry, that was like another one of those little tangents I went on. But I
No,
think it's important to understand that what's tough to us may not look the same as what's tough to other people, and we got to understand that stresses come in all different shapes and sizes, and somebody's maybe less than ours, but to them it's a big deal. So
yeah, absolutely. Um, I think you hit on a very important topic when it comes to the comparisons, right? Is you'll have people that they're just trying to relate. A lot of the people that they see us outside of the uniform, they see us as great people and we're so personable and all these other things. But what they don't realize is there's really not too much that we can relate when it comes to the professional side. But they just still want to relate. I mean, we're humans, right? We want to um, understand in a way, but unless you do the job, you'll never truly understand. And that's the fortunate but unfortunate side of things. It's like you said, I would rather take the burden than someone else. And I really truly believe that it has to do with that protector mindset. We are those that we came in during a time where law enforcement was a calling and it required a certain breed of individuals to do it. Unfortunately, now it's transitioning, and I'm sure you see it as more like a job. People are just coming in to just get a paycheck, and it's not because of that inherent desire to serve, but it's more just to clock in, clock out, do the job, go home, put a nice uniform on, look real nice and squared away, and get a nice take home vehicle if you're fortunate enough for it. Um, but I do wanna ask, when you both were going through that, how did your command staff treat you when after that incident? I mean, that that's a critical incident in our profession. That's something that would put I would say the normal person on their knees, you know?
Yeah. Um, well, sadly, um, they didn't treat us anyway. We never, they wanted to know the details of the case, have never, hey, you guys good? You need anything? Just, they never one time reached out. And I don't know so much of, I don't know so much that it's like fully their fault, right? They got 1,000 things going, but in our differences, like, or my mindset's different, right? Because at the end of the day, if you and I go through something together, my concern is you. Like, I want to make sure you're good, you're squared away. These guys are running an entire department, and they got our city hall run, down their throats. Is this right? Is this right? Is this right? So from the very top, um, I get that they got other things going and stuff like that, but um, I will say that our individual shift, our command was phenomenal. I've I've truly, I don't know that I've worked with a single lieutenant in my department that have not been good people. Like, some are a little bit different, right? Some are very strict, and it's like, this is how we do it, my way or the highway. Um, but I got a couple. Um, they're both day shift sergeants or lieutenants now, but both been cops for a very long time. Both dealt with some very wild stuff that understand. Um, and we'll maybe talk a little bit more about one of the guys, my Lieutenant Hassan. I'm sure he won't care me sharing his name. Like, I will give this man praise. Like, I told my wife when I when I started a shift, I said, "Hey, listen, if Brian Hassan calls me today, um, and tells me, hey, I want you to go jump off the roof of your building or of your house, just call the ambulance. I'm jumping off the roof of this house. Like, I want you to understand that. Like, if this man tells me to do something, I'm going to do it." Um, and the biggest thing is, we recently had an officer or a couple officers that dealt with a situation that basically ended up, one of them ended up going to some counseling service and stuff for it. But the biggest thing, and my brother, it's kind of cool now. So my brother he runs the Region 6 EMS office, and he runs all of our EMS programs. And he does all the debriefs for all these critical incidents. And he told me, he said, I will tell you that his song is the best leader that I've ever seen, because we were in there. Everybody was quiet. No, I say we, I'm sorry, I was not in there. So they were in there. Everybody was quiet. And then he said, um, it's okay to not be okay. And those words literally changed the way that whole thing went. And that was okay, now we can talk. Like, if this man says it's okay, so he's got multiple deployments overseas. Like, he was in the book, The Chosen Few, like, very, very detailed military career. Like, the man's been through some stuff. And so, like, he was one of our SWAT team leaders and stuff. And like, we look at him as like, if he says it's okay to be okay or not be okay, it's okay to not be okay. Like, and I think that's been a stigma for a very long time, right? Like, you think that I'm less of a man because I need some help. I'm struggling with some things. And I'll be honest with you, I was the same way. And I'm sure we'll get into it here a little bit, but When I was going through my hard times, he's the guy I went to. I said, "Hey, here's where I'm at, man. I'm struggling with this and this and this." And he's like, "Brother, listen, you don't want to hear this, but you have textbook depression." It's like, "Oh, me? No, man. It's cold outside, and I don't do with like winter well." He's like, "No, bro, you're depressed." He's like, "I dealt with the same things. The only difference is you brought it to attention, and I let it eat at me alive for a long time." Um, so fortunately, having a man like that in your command staff was huge for us, because he's like, "You good? You need anything? Like whatever." Um, and our shift did it together, right? There was me and this officer, but the other officers showed up, so, and they all know that like those are tough calls. So fortunate, we kind of like had our small little group, and we just really leaned on each other a lot. So, um, as far as that goes, our command, to answer your original question, again, those tangents I keep speaking about, to answer the small question, is the top never said anything. And I don't know if the top knows, we're night shift officers, right? So it's like, you don't see us, like, so I don't know if they understand the weight that it had on him, to where our lieutenant seen it. Our guys seen it, and they addressed it and let him know that, hey, we're here for you, kind of thing. So, um, that part's huge for sure.
It's a very interesting point. You
Yeah.
know, um, and yeah, shout out to um, what was his name again?
Brian Hassan.
Shout out to you, sir, for being the pillar that your people needed, especially for those that may not also be saying it. So, um, outstanding job. That is a textbook definition of a leader, especially in this community, in
Oh,
this day and age. Um, so, how did that make you feel, really? You know, knowing that there was only one, there was only one person that you could lean on when, we talk about leadership. Leadership comes from the top down. And I understand what you're saying, that there's that that understanding that, yes, the command staff up on top are busy, quote unquote. However, without us at the bottom, the mission doesn't happen, right? The community's not served. If you start having that quantity over quality, your people are going to see that. They're not going to feel supported. And evidently, they're not going to want to go and do the job that it is, which is serving in law enforcement, going to those heavy calls and understanding they're going to be supported. So for you, how did that make you feel at the end of the day? I understand that you had someone, and thankfully, but knowing that it didn't come from the very top, trickling down, because we know disciplinary action, that'll definitely trickle down from the very top, right?
100%.
That is that's the thing. So how did that make you feel?
Oh man, and make me want to like kick out a leather couch back here and just like, well, sir, really? No. So it's at the time I didn't think about it, right? At the time I had, at the end of the day, I still got work to do, so like I just kind of threw it off, like it is what it is. And, um, but as I seen over the course of my career, of seeing kind of that disconnect from up top of like, hey, listen, um, I don't much care if you tell me every time I have a good arrest or every time I do something good, like, um, I don't much care that you send me a message. Don't get me wrong. I love that, right? I love to know that you appreciate the things I'm doing. But every once in a while, man, it's nice. Like, how's everybody doing? You good? Like, do you need anything from me? And so, like, when I sat there and thought about it, and it all adds up over the several times that I've had like incidences where I'm like, man, like that weighs on me a little bit, and then nobody is crickets. Um, I think I'm fortunate enough is like I have, I have my brother, and like my wife, I can kind of vent to her and stuff. But um, I think the biggest thing is it was just like, and sadly, I just said this just the other day, but um, I felt like if I never showed back up to that job ever again, nobody would care except for the guys on my shift. Like they're going to put my ad in the newspaper. They're going to have somebody fill my shoes. Um, and that's kind of the big thing. It's like, there's been several times, where I'm like, I'm going to quit. I'm going to quit doing this. Like, you just feel unsupported and you just feel like, nobody cares about your well-being or your career growth or whatever that may be. But my biggest fear is that if I quit, the next guy's not going to have the passion or the compassion to do the job at the level that I feel like it should be done. And so, um, again, it's on me, and I feel like I'm here for a reason. Right. So, um, it's like I said, it's easier for me because I have a support system. So I just didn't think about it as much, but some of these guys don't have that. Uh, so I can only imagine what going through those incidents and realizing that, nobody's coming, nobody's calling, nobody's texting you, nothing, like that would be tough. But it definitely sucks because it's like, do you care? Like, do you care about me or do you just care about the department as a whole? Um, it's kind of like, so I was big into like mechanics and stuff like that. And so it's like, if I have a tire that's going low on air, um, do I fix the tire or do I just say, screw it, the rest of the car runs fine? Like, yeah, maybe this is just a small part of it, but the whole car runs better when all the tires are deflated and all the oils are changed and everything's up to where it needs to be and you're taking care of it. Right. And that's huge to me. It's like, um, I may not be the most important part or the most important person, um, on the car. But at the end of the day, if you take care of every person and every part, the machine itself runs flawlessly. Or at least runs a lot better, So that was just kind of my thoughts as far as like where that hit me at the time for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So just curious, we like to ask people about their departments for we'd like to ask one question to people that come on here regarding their departments. So Dylan and I both attended a first responders conference in, I want to say, Dublin, Ohio, last year, and it was a phenomenal event. Mitch, if you're listening again, shout out to the Bridge in Ohio. Absolutely phenomenal. They do great job. They have amazing speakers, amazing clinicians out there, and their sole mission is to support not just the first responders and veterans, but also um, their family members as well. So they have that resource for the spouses of first responders to be able to understand what their spouse is going through when they're dealing with these critical incidences. So the question that I want to ask is, in your guys' department, do you folks have an EAP program? And within that EAP program, are the counselors actually certified to handle critical incidences for first responders?
Uh, can I get back to you on that? No, no one knows. I we
And that's exactly, yeah.
Since I've been there, um, I've had one officer who's a very, very good friend of mine who dealt with that incident that we were kind of briefly speaking on earlier, um, have to use the services. And that whole thing in itself is frustrating um, but the other day, I was just dealing with some stuff, like some personal stuff. And, I was asking the guys at a shift brief, like, hey, do you guys know where the new contact is. Like we switched to a different service, or a different company. And I said, do you guys know where the information's at? They're like, I think it may be on the break room wall. Not really sure. Go up there. Can't find it. And I was like, okay. So I shot my, command officer a message. I'm like, hey, do you know where this is at? And he's like, well, I think it's here. I said, okay, well, I just wasn't sure. I was like, well, let me do some digging. So like he had to go find it and then send everything over to me and stuff like that, like the next day. Um, so we don't use it. And again, I think a lot of that is because we still have that mentality of, it's weakness, and every cop in the world, I swear to God, they think that like counselors are, like DCFS, man, like they're going to report anything, it's like, I can't be vulnerable to you because, well, now you're going to have my gun taken away. I'm going to lose my whole job. And it's just like, it's not how this works, but, that's been our biggest fear. Right. And especially I'm from Illinois. Right. So, we do things a little differently over here. Not in a positive way, but, so it is a fear of ours, and we've seen, I think a lot of that too is because we've seen kind of the negative political trend towards law enforcement, that now we're even more susceptible or, resistant to reach out to, services. But as far as our services, I don't know. You and I have obviously had this conversation that there's a huge difference, right? Um, it's no different than when you go to the ER, they send you to a specialist, right? Because somebody that is trained in your position or in that position to fix said problem, is going to fix it. I mean, I'm sure it's no different with anything, right? So, I 100% agree with our conversations that we've had of, well, how are you going to fix my problems if you don't have any expertise in critical incidents and even like the first responder side of things? Like, um, you know, yeah, I couldn't tell you. I truly can't.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate side. You know, it, we're expected to know all of our SOPs, all of our general orders, the law, whether it's municipal, state, federal, and know them even to the point when it comes to promotions. If you want to promote, you need to know these things. Um, and even updated laws that come out either from the Supreme Court or from your state legislature, things like that. Unfortunately, we broach the question, do we know anything for mental health when it comes to the department? And there's even command staff that doesn't know where to find it, right? And I want to make sure that I preface this as that this conversation is by no means intended to defame or discredit any police department out there. This is solely the opinions of the individuals on here, and this is strictly to uh, show the commonalities of officers, firefighters, and EMTs, even veterans that unfortunately don't get the services that they need to make sure that they can actually execute the mission that's expected, what the taxpayers expect them to do. Um, it's kind of like having a cup, right? If you keep breaking that cup and keep cracking it over and over and over again, sooner or later you're going to have holes in there that cup's going to be useless. And we have to make sure that we are fixing, not that law enforcement officers and first responders need quote unquote fixing, but we do need maintenance. Like you said, Chad, about the whole, like a vehicle, right? Having that consistent checkups to make sure that we're able to do the job that we're expected to do at the highest levels of expectation that the community expects of us, as well as our command staff. So I really appreciate that, man. You are definitely helping to shine more light on what we need as first responders, and I hope even the community, asks these questions. Um, if there's
Well,
any community members that, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I was just going to say, as far as department wise goes, this department is the best when it comes to that. Like when I worked EMS, when I worked fire, when I worked for the other department that I originally started at, we didn't have numbers. I truly don't even know that these services were provided to us. And if they were, nobody told us. At least with this department, I know that if I need something, I can go to somebody and they're going to get me sent in the right direction. When I worked EMS, they would have just laughed at me if I went up and said, "Hey, I'm struggling with some things," and they don't want, like, well, sucks to suck, man. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean you need help? Like, what? Um, so the department that I work for right now is hands down the best at this. But we still, it's kind of one of those things. It's like we just don't draw attention to it, right? We don't show that we need it enough. That it's not like our squad car. We use it every single day. So when something goes wrong with it, we got to fix it. But our officers, were designed to where we just blow it off. We don't say anything, and you can't fix a problem that you don't know exists. So I do have to give them that side of things. But I will say that, like, kind of like we talked of, when you obviously know every call that comes out, like you have the ability to know every call that comes out. It doesn't take much to just reach out and say, "Hey, you guys good?" So I would say that's kind of a bigger thing that I think we're getting better by far. I've seen that shift over the 18 years in first responder, like night and day different than where we started, by far. So it used to be like my peer support group was me, my brother, and the guy from the fire department would go drink 6 pitchers of beer at the local bar after training or a meeting. Like that fixes nothing. You know what I mean? Like, how they call that a depressant? Like, there we go. So you're depressed about something. Let's go hit some beers, boys. See how it really works out, But
Yeah,
sorry, I just wanted to throw that out there that, like, we're way better than we are, but we're definitely not where we need to be. And that's not just us. I mean, I've seen it firsthand. There's a lot of other places that are lacking way worse.
Yeah, no, you hit that on the money. We're actually talking to George Forsyth, in episode 2, and for any of you who don't know George, he's an amazing guy, retired trooper, and he retired and then decided, because he saw the lacking of EAP programs or certified mental health clinicians that certify in critical incidences for first responders, he decided to get his degree, get licensed, and now practices that. So that's exactly one thing that we talked about, is that unfortunately we don't always find the most positive ways to cope with things, right? And the interesting thing is alcohol has, and this is coming from George, is alcohol and those types of functions have become a part of the culture for law enforcement and even any first responder. Hey, retirement, let's go hit the bar. Let's celebrate. Let's have a drink. Somebody got promoted. Let's hit the bar. Let's have a drink. Bad day, let's have a drink. Good day, let's have a drink. And it's not always the most healthiest of options. It really isn't, especially if it's on the negative side, right? Always drink responsibly, always. But I want to, as an officer, I do want to ask you, because I have my own opinions and I think it's a quote unquote morale booster. But why do you think that we lean on a depressant like alcohol when it comes to the bad things that we deal with, instead of always leaning on necessarily the positive? Well, why do you think that is?
Oh man. So a couple reasons. And actually, tomorrow marks my 1 year of sobriety. So I've actually not had a drink for 1 year as of tomorrow. So, but seeing that, right, is, I haven't got invited to as many things to do with the guys that do drink all the time. I haven't got, my family and I don't get invited to, like, as many cookouts or go out to dinner, or, like, I'll still go out and have a drink. There's nothing that says I can't put Mio in my water and sing some karaoke, because boy, I love me some karaoke. And, but I think a lot of that is we go there because it's the social thing, right? So it's easy for me to get a couple of my buddies together. We all sit around, we vent, we drink a couple beers, and it just kind of gives you a chance to kind of just decompress. I think a lot of it too is it's connected to good memories, right? Like some of the better memories that I've had in my life are having beers and having drinks with the boys and, and the families and, things like that. That was like, oh man, I still remember that, like with the exception of my 21st birthday, which I'm like pretty certain that I may or may not have met the big man upstairs for about 30 seconds. I know my liver did, but no, um, but it's like, it was definitely one of those things of like, I think we have good memories attached to that. So it's easy for us to be like, hey man, you know what? Like I'm having a bad day. I want those memories back. Like I want to have the good time. I want to have the boys over. I want to, and just kind of decompress. And I truly think that, I mean, I'll be open and honest with you. Man, I'll tell you what, I was the life of the party. Like when we go out to a bar and like hang out, like guarantee. I mean, like I said, I drove race cars. We had a beer machine in our race car shop. Like we drank a lot of beer, and but it was one of those things that like um, it was good when the party was going on, but it's when everybody leaves where I struggled hard. And that's where um, obviously I made the comment to in a fellowship and to Blake that time of um, I could sit in a bar with 1,000 people and feel empty. But up now recently, since finding my faith, I could sit in an empty room and feel full. My heart is full. But um, I truly believe that we depend on alcohol to take our mind off of things. Um, it connects to the good memories and the good things that we remember in our life. Unfortunately, are a lot of times associated with drinking with others, and it's socially acceptable. It's a social thing to do, to go out and invite the boys over to go out to the bar for a drink and just decompress. But the problem that we're forgetting is that ends at some point in time. Those memories go away. The bar closes, and then you're still faced with the reality of you're hurting. You're broken. So I think that was the hardest thing for me to adjust with. But I think that's why we do it.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's that temporary gratification.
Absolutely. Right up until you get that $100 bill at the end of it, then it's like, whew. Yeah.
If you went ahead and you started a tab, I never start a tab. I know better than that.
Well, don't let my face fool you. I use this for more than just a hat rack. Pretty wise individual over here.
Yeah. So for the listeners on there, and also for those that'll be watching, you tell us a little bit about that hat.
Oh boy, I can. Yeah. So this hat was a limited edition run from um, Eagles and Angels. So as you can see, the camo material underneath here is actually from the uniform from Blake Cook. And those of you that don't know Blake Cook, you should, right? I truly invite you to, obviously giving them the shameless plug here, but get on Instagram and follow guys like Blake Cook, Stephen Griffith. Sorry, I messed that up the other day too. They're just good dudes, man. And like, especially if you're in this space of first responders, that are trying to follow Christ, um, they're leaders for it. And they're they're two of the guys that brought me back to my faith when I was 100% lost away from it. But, sorry, one of those other tangents we're talking about. So, Eagles and Angels is the hat. The part of the material was from Blake's uniform when he was in the military. And the cool part is some of the proceeds from this hat goes to a program where they actually provide bicycles for kids around Christmas time. So not only was it like, and I love that stuff, and we can get into that too. But man, I love doing things for like kids and the community, and so it's like even if this wasn't Blake's uniform or has something to do with Blake, the what it stands for and what it does for the community was easily worth the money, you know. And I only wear it to pristine places, you know, like where I'm not going to sweat on it and
Hmm.
keep it looking fancy, you know. But no, it's been cool, man. Those guys have been great. Truly couldn't ask for better people, you know, and they've answered so many of my questions of with my faith and even with my career of, you know, training wise and their thoughts and processes on stuff. So yeah, that's what the hat means.
Yeah, definitely. And like Chad said, if any of you are interested in taking a look at what he's doing, it's going to be at Blake Cook Actual, as well as Steven. It's going to be underscore Steven Griffith. Amazing, amazing individuals. And I'm sure, like Steven, um, the best person that I could have ever asked to give me the honor of baptizing me. That was an amazing, amazing opportunity, and it's it's really crazy how we met. Obviously, we met on the fellowship, um, and the fact that Steven didn't know me from Tom or Harry, and he was actually they were leaving from a active shooter response course down in California, and I don't think I've actually ever told you the story. He was in the airport, and I asked him if I could sidebar with him, and he was like, "Yeah, absolutely, of course." So we got on the phone. He said, "Hey, I got probably about 5 minutes." Obviously, they're busy, right? And they're in the middle of an airport. I don't like talking to people in the middle of an airport, especially someone I don't know.
True.
Um,
True.
but that conversation became an hour and a half conversation, man, about God, about faith, and about where my struggles were. And we built such a great uh, brotherhood and camaraderie to the point that I trusted him enough to drive 5 hours down to Eden, North Carolina, and take that leap of faith. And yeah, if anybody wants to learn more, Blake and Steven also both have their own Patreon group and their own fellowship. It's called The Forge on Patreon. Amazing, amazing platform. We just were on it this past Thursday. Um, so, but trying to circle back to things, you had mentioned your faith, and that was something that you really used to help ground you. So, in your own words, how has your faith helped you process a lot of the things that you've seen um, that otherwise would put others on their knees?
Yeah, man. So, like I said, it really wasn't until kind of recently that I got so strong in my faith. Always believed, you know, and I hate saying it like that, right? Because everyone says that. Oh, I mean, I believe in God. It's like, okay, but do you believe do you believe in him and the things that he does? And like, do you live that way? Um, was hard for me because it's like, in my mind, I made the excuse of, oh, I believe in God. You know, that's like, I know where I'm going, you know, like I'm good to go. And now I'm like, no, no, listen, I believe in God. Like I believe in the things that he does. And, um, you know, I'm a big firm believer in the phrase of it is what it is, you know, like there's control what you can control. Right. Um, but I think that was the biggest thing is it really helped me understand that like, hey, at the end of the day, I got to do exactly that. I have to control what I can control and let God take everything else because that's what he does. You know, like one of the jokes that we used to say is, you know, if you want to make God laugh, tell him what your plan is, you know, and he's like, no,
Good
I got a
one.
plan for you. I got a plan for you. Right. So, I think that was the biggest thing is understanding that there's a reason why the things are happening. And, you know, you and I have had this conversation too, is, um, God will never, you know, as they say, if if you ask God for strength, he's going to give you things to strengthen you. If you ask God for patience, he's going to give you things to build your patience. He's going to basically, it's like if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. You know, and ultimately that's what God does. God doesn't give you these things just because you ask for them. He teaches you how to build these things up so that you can prepare and make yourself a better person. And, you know, the end of the day, bad things happen, right? I mean, we just seen it. This week's been terrible, with us or with just the world, but, God will never prevent evil. He'll just make sure that you don't have to do it alone, that you have somebody there with you. And, it took me a while to understand understand what that meant. It's very hard for a lot of people, right? Because it's not like you and me. If I'm having a bad day, I can call you. I can't call God. I can talk to him though, and I believe it was Stephen that actually once said, he's like, I challenge you to, when you notice you're talking to yourself, start talking to God. Like, have a conversation with God. Don't talk to yourself. Like, because how many times do you sit there like, oh man, that was stupid, or oh, that's dumb, or you're an idiot. Like, why'd you do that? It's like, um, I just kind of drive around. I just talk to him. I'm not saying you got to pray to him, but just, have a conversation to say, like, this is what's on my mind. This is what's weighing on me. Like, please show me why, or help me understand why. But the same note, it's like, it's helped me understand that I'll know what I need to know when I need to know it. Right. Um, and the things that I don't understand, there's a reason I don't understand them. Right. I'm not supposed to understand them. And that's been very hard for me to understand, but man, I'm learning it every day. I'm learning him, I'm learning his word, his faith. I'm learning that every day. And it's awesome. It's been a heck of a ride. And, when I met the weekend after I met, Blake and Kyle and, Steven, so we come back, and 7 hours, I posted this post on Instagram. 7 hours later, I'm driving by. Effingham, Illinois has this giant cross. So I'm driving by, and my niece sends me a text message at that time and says, hey, will you come to church with us on Sunday? And I'm like, 7 hours later, like, everybody else has already commented, and you said, will you come to church with us on Sunday? I said, yep, I plan on being there. So then we go to church. I go back to work that Monday. We handle a call where this lady's screaming at somebody on the phone. Like, we think there's a domestic going on inside. Finally, she comes out. I learned new cuss words this day. Like, I mean, she was not happy we were there, right? So she was mad at somebody, like a family member that was screaming with on the phone, and we were able to get her to calm down. And she says, I need you guys to pray with me. Like, I really need that right now. Like, all right, yeah, let's go ahead. So me, and a couple of my other officers stood there hand in hand with this lady in her front yard at like 11 o'clock at night. And she says, well, you guys better talk, because he don't want to hear what I have to say right now. I'm fired up. So I'm like, perfect. All right. So I led this prayer. I would have never done this. I led this prayer in this lady's front yard, my very first shift back to work after meeting these guys.
Wow.
And we finished that, and we're walking back, and, my buddy who we were on the pediatric call with, he's like, that's a first. That's the first in my career, and he's big into his faith as well. And, he's like, I've never prayed for somebody on scene like that. Like, that was wild. So, I get back, I literally sat down in my car, and I just look up at, this like ceiling up at the sky, and I'm like, I see you. I see you. Like, you're making it obvious. And boy, I tell you what, like, once you start paying attention, there's so many signs. Like, there's so many things that are like happen in your life that you're like, that's not a coincidence. Like, this happened to remind me that he's there, and like, remind me that, we got to do better. So, I mean, that's been the biggest thing that's helped me in, as far as now that I've refound my faith. And, I mean, I've had so many people since I got back from that trip. It was like, dude, you came back a whole new person. Like, even my own mom was like, you just seem like such a better person. I'm like, was I that bad before? Like, man, I didn't know you. But, but everyone's like, man, it's so much for the better. You just seem like rejuvenated. And it's like, yeah, man, 100%. Like we just added somebody else to our family, like, and we're focused on that. Like, that's huge. So, yeah, I love it. I love it.
So do you think that there's do you think that there's maybe a specific thing in your life that happened? Is it the fact that you met Kyle, Blake, and Steven that helped to shift you towards your faith, that helped you navigate these harder parts in life?
When I say this, and I mean this with 100% seriousness, I would not be where I am today had it not been for the trip where I met Blake and Steven and Kyle. No question about it. Those guys. So like, I've read this in a fellowship before of like, I was that guy that's like, hey man, I'm not worthy enough to go to church. Like I've done so much wrong. Um, and listen to these guys talk and listen to, it's like, do I look up to these guys, right? Like in my career field, these are the dudes, right? Like, so for guys that carry that much meaning towards me to push the faith, um, that was truly would be where I'm at right now. Like, as far as my walk in faith and like my ability to deal with certain things, they were huge for that. That was a turning point in my life and my family's life. We come back. That was the first time I took my kid to church. My wife hated the church, like not our church that we go to now, but was forced to go as a kid every Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday. They sang in the choir. Like that church was, if you didn't wear this, if you didn't do this, if you weren't this person, like you were shunned. It's like it was almost like it carried a social, like hierarchy. Like you're a better person, or you were better than everybody else because you went to this church. And she hated that. Like hated it. It's like just try it. Just go to church with me one time that Sunday when we came back. And I said, I'm going. I would just love if you would come with me. And she goes and she's like, well, I'm going to wear this. I'm going to wear this. And I'm like, babe, listen, God don't care what you wear. He just wants you to show up, And so
Absolutely.
we go there. My kid wears basketball shorts and a t-shirt, and like, it's just, that's where I'm at. It's like, it doesn't matter what I wear. When we found such a great church, man, they've been phenomenal to us. And like just the things that they do. And, they were great for my kiddo. And, man, it's been awesome for us. And I truly owe all of that to those guys. No question about it.
Awesome. Yeah. Um, you're right. They are amazing people, and what they're doing is truly a blessing, and that's to do it very modestly. I truly have no words with the type of work that they're doing. So, you know, taking all of this and wrapping it up in a nice, pretty bow, is there anything that you feel called to say when it comes to your faith, that if somebody is listening right now or is tuning in, is there anything that you would tell them when they're going through the hardest parts in their life right now, even to the point if they're contemplating suicide and ending it all?
Yeah, man. I would just simply say God loves you. Like, um, it, and it's a love that you'll never feel in your entire life from anybody else. Um, that being said, he's the strongest thing in the entire world. I mean, I can't even say like person. He's just the strongest support that you'll ever have. Um, and he is there to lean on. He is there to pour your heart and pour your soul into him. And if you need him, he is there. And it's not always going to make sense. It'll never make sense, truly. Like, you just have to believe that there is a greater good and there is somebody much higher that ultimately um, has things that we will never be able to achieve the greatness that this man has, but he wants you to, right? Um, when I teach anything, I constantly say my whole goal is I want everyone around me to be better. I want you to be better. I want you to strive to be better. I want to give something to you that makes you go, all right, man, I'm interested in this, and that's what God does, right? Like God gives you that determination to want to do better because one, I don't do well in real high heat. So if I go to hell, it's not going to end well, um, but
You've already been saved, brother.
oh man. And I truly couldn't, my heart is full, and I'll be honest with you. Obviously I won't go full on into my story. You know my story. Um, I've been on the brink, man. I've 100% been on the brink of just calling it a day. Um, and there was something in my mind that clicked and made me think about things and flash back to like why I'm here. What's the purpose? Am I doing the right thing? That wasn't just my mind working. That was God telling me that, listen, you have people that look up to you. You have people that need you. And your job's not done. Like I put you where you're at for a reason, and job's not done. So um, understand that, and obviously anybody that is struggling with their faith and um, or just even just struggling with life and like looking to bring the faith side into it is I would challenge you to maybe get some sort of a lot of people don't like reading, so I mean, I would say obviously read the Bible, um, but I'll be honest with you, I can't. I I bought one, I'll read through it, and I'm like, I don't know if it's like my ADHD I got going on or what, but like I just struggle hard with it. Man, I got to be doing something all the time. Um, but they have podcasts, they have like books and stuff that basically will like audiobooks that you can just drive around and listen to it, and start somewhere. Obviously, I'm no expert, right? And I will never. I'm so new to this, but like, boy, I'm excited about it, And this is where I think guys like Blake and Steven in this position, reaching out to those guys, they're going to give you insight of where to start. Like where do you start this journey? Because I'm truly still figuring it all out. But um, just I would say find a good church, find a good space, right? Even if you don't like church, I started with the fellowship. I went for a long time of just the fellowship. I'm like, I I don't feel comfortable in church. Like, it's just not really my thing. But the fellowship started building my understanding, um, to the point where I'm like, okay, I want to learn more about this. Like, this is interesting to me. Um, so the fellowship kind of brought that to life and ultimately led me to the church. But I think the goal there is you got to find a good church, find one that you're passionate about being there, that treat people the right way, that treat people the way God wants them to be treated, and just does the right things. Like that's huge to me, and no matter how that looks, like that may be different for me than it is for you. But find one that fits you good, that makes you feel comfortable, makes you want to be there. Um, and that ultimately the biggest thing I could say is if you're struggling, just know that he's there, and to know that he will put people in your life that are there to help you. And they're like, when somebody reaches out to ask, is everything okay? That wasn't them just saying, are you okay? That was God saying, hey man, you better check on your friend over here. And I'm a firm believer in that. Right. So I've never made a phone call and been like, you good? Just because I wanted to. It's because I cared about that person, and because I 100% believe that God made me a person that somebody feels they can open up to and lean on. So yeah, long answer, short answer, however you wanted it there. I gave you one, right?
Good answer.
Perfect.
That's it, brother. And to kind of piggyback off of that, I think there's something that has always helped me, and it's something that Steven told me, or told us actually, is if you can trust the Lord with your eternity, I think you can trust him in the right now. And that
Absolutely.
in itself, for anyone who is a believer, that specific, just very short snap in focus in and realize that the Christians or whatever denominations you are, if you can have that faith that you can put your full trust and heart and soul into Him when you're not here, you can still do it 100% now and trust that He is doing everything the way that it's intended for you. And there is no question on that.
Absolutely.
So, Schwenke, to again, I really appreciate you, taking the time out of your busy schedule, taking time away from the family. I know Saturdays and Sundays are usually the family time.
We got Texas football on right now. Come on, Longhorns. Yeah, I'm praying that the big man upstairs reaches down and teaches Arch Manning how to play football like he did last year,
Hey, but I do have just one last question. If you'll indulge me in it, is with the experience that you have all these years, faith, first responder, being a business owner, everything, father, a husband, what is one thing that you would want to communicate to someone that may be 18 years old, coming in, choosing to be a first responder? What are some of the things that you wish that someone told you when you first started this journey?
Yeah, I would say the number one thing, bold, italics, underlined, you name it, find God, faith over everything, right? But as far as the career wise goes, right? So I was young and somebody told me, don't let law enforcement define who you are. Come on, man. Like, we all know that's not true, right? Because if you do something to a point, you're fascinated with it. The biggest thing I could tell anyone on a professional standpoint, is I have a patch that says this I bought: exceed the standard or don't do the job. I'm a firm believer in that. Like, everything that is worth doing correctly and with your full ability. And that's not the job. It just takes minimal effort to be a good person. Minimal effort, right? Treat people the way they need to be treated. Treat people how you want to be treated. Do the job to a point to where no matter what, when promotions come up, when, at the end of your career, people are going, oh, he was a good one, right? Like, that's where I want to be. Like, I've said this 1,000 times. When my days on earth are over, I don't want to be remembered as, oh, he's Chad Schwenke. He's the guy that worked for the Charleston Police Department. No, he's Chad Schwenke. He was a good dude. He cared about the community. He loved God. He did the things the right way that they should have been done. And at the end of the day, we have to set an example. I will always say this, be somebody that you wish that somebody else was. And simply what I'm meaning is that, like, I expect my lieutenant to be a certain person, right? And to hold this standard, do X, Y, Z, but I can't expect him to do that if I'm not going to do it myself, right? So always be somebody that you want other people to replicate. Yeah. And enjoy it, man. Like, it's life. It's over quicker than we planned, and we have no time limit, but enjoy it, and if you get to that point where you're like, I hate this, get out, man. Like, there's a million jobs in the world. Like, our local McDonald's is hiring like 27 people this week. Like, go flip burgers if you hate what you're doing. And if you hate that, go find something else. Like, nothing says that once you get into these jobs and you get into this career, public service isn't for everybody by any means, and there's days where I've questioned if it's for me, but don't do this job if you're not fully passionate about doing the job. And when I say that, I mean helping others and making a difference in the world, because ultimately that's what we're all here to do, right? I didn't get into law enforcement to write tickets in honor of my area. Troopers be trooping, but, I love it. But that's not what I got into this job for. I got in this job to make a difference and to do good things. And I would say to anybody that's looking to get into any career, do it to your best ability. If you want to be a trash man, be the best trash man that you've seen in your entire life, right? Like whatever you decide to do, be the best at it. And if you always strive to be the best, never quit learning, there's only one way for your career to go. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah, 100%. Hey, Brother Schwenke, is there any way that if someone is touched by what you said today, is there a Instagram account or your MEDC Training Solutions website that they can reach out to you at?
Yeah, so super easy as far as, so obviously Facebook is Chad Schwenke. Fortunately, there's not a whole bunch of those in the world. My Instagram is Schwenke169. I have Instagram and Facebook for both of the MEDC Training Solutions stuff. So it's just MEDC Training or MED Solutions. And website is www.medicmedctraining.com. You can 100% reach me there on any of that stuff, or if you even if you just want to follow along or watch the cool ride that we have coming on. So, but no, and if you're really touched by this, I'd probably get a restraining order, but that's just my personal opinion.
Chad Schwenke, amazing man, amazing follower of God.
Thanks,
I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. Anything that all that Chad said in here will be in the descriptions below. Please reach out to him. He is an amazing guy, and he is always open to talking to you guys and to serving the community. So with that, Chad, appreciate it, brother. And you make sure that you be safe out there.
Thank you, brother. And I appreciate this friendship. I wish it would have started sooner. So
Absolutely.
thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Be safe out there. God bless.
All right. Take care, brother.